Game week 2 of the Premier League starts very shortly. So in today's episode, what we're going to be doing is looking back at our game week 1 predictions and seeing how well we did. Then we're going to be making our predictions for game week 2 before we finally take a look at how well we got on in the FPL and how well the best team of the week in our league got on. So let's get into it. So like I said, we're going to be firstly taking a look at the game 1 week predictions. So look at this. Starting off with Liverpool versus Bournemouth. We made that prediction of 3-1 thinking Liverpool would get the win. However, Bournemouth would score and we were correct. So it was 4-2 in the end and we got 1.5 points because we got the goal difference correct. The second game was Villa versus Newcastle. I was disappointed with how we played, to be honest, but it ended as a 0-0 draw, which we will take, especially after seeing Konza getting sent off. However, I went for a 2-1 prediction, believing in Villa, and unfortunately it came to bite me in the bum as we only get 0 points for that one. Next up was Brighton versus Fulham. Brighton, I thought they were going to hold on to it until the very end. However, Fulham come up with a late equaliser, making it 1-1 rather than our prediction 2-0. So unfortunately, we get no points there. Not the best of starts, I have to say, but hopefully with the next ones, we will do a bit better. So let's have a look at the next screen. And this is the matches which were played. So we had Sunderland versus West Ham. We went for a controversial win for Sunderland, being the newly promoted team, and they actually went out and smashed it, scoring 3 goals past West Ham. We went for a 2-1 prediction though, unfortunately, so we only get 1 point for the result. However, we'll take that every day of the week. Tottenham versus Burnley, we went for a 2-0 win. We thought they were going to dominate, and they sure did. They went over and won 3-0 at home against Burnley, which means that we gained 1.5 points for our 1 goal off. And then finally, we went for a Man City dominance against Wolves. We went for 3-0. However, they went and scored 4 past Wolves, so not a great start for them whatsoever, but we get 1.5 points for getting that 1 goal off. So not a bad screen, I have to say. We've done pretty well there, and hopefully on the next 3 we will do just as well. And it is a good start for us here as we say 3-1 for Forest versus Brentford, and it ends 3-1-2, so we gain 3 points there, getting that one exact. And then the second one is Chelsea versus Palace. We thought it might be very close and it could end up as a draw, and it did. It was 0-0. Unfortunately though, we went for the 2-1 to Chelsea. We were trying to play it safe with them being at home, but unfortunately that came to bite us back, and unfortunately we gained 0 points for that game. Then finally, it is Manchester United versus Arsenal. Man U played Arsenal, I think, out of the park. They got really unlucky to not get a result out of this game, but Arsenal's Raya played really well at the back, and they managed to get the 1-0 win. So unfortunately, our prediction of 3-2 was also incorrect. So we've got our final game of the week, which was Leeds taking on Everton. So obviously, we went for the 1-1 draw between the two teams. However, Leeds did get offered a controversial penalty at the very end as Tarkowski gives away the handball. That meant though that unfortunately we were incorrect with our prediction for the draw of 1-1, and it actually ended up being 1-0 to Leeds. So a very good start there for a newly promoted team. We get 0 points there, but our total points for the week are 8.5. Let me know how you got on down in the comments section below. But now it is time to move into game week number 2. So starting off with West Ham versus Chelsea. Quite an interesting game to begin with. I think it will be quite a dominating win. West Ham not having a great start to the season and losing to Sunderland 3-0, whereas Chelsea drew to Crystal Palace. I think Crystal Palace is a lot better than West Ham, so I can see a Chelsea win here, even though they are away. So we're going to go for a 2-0 win to Chelsea versus West Ham. I can't see West Ham scoring. Maybe I might be wrong, and I can see Chelsea getting a couple of goals to start kicking off their season. So we're going to go for the 2-0. Game 2 sees Manchester City versus Tottenham Hotspur. 2 big teams who have both got a win to begin with this season so far. I thought Tottenham actually played very well against Burnley. I think Burnley are obviously a much easier opposition than Manchester City, so it'll be interesting to see just how well Tottenham play. They're also playing away. I think it will be close though, so I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Manchester City. I can see them scoring a couple of goals, and also I can see them conceding 2. They had the easy start to taking on Wolves, 2 teams which I put towards the relegation zone places. So we'll have to see how these two get on. But yeah, we're going to go for the 2-1. Next up, it is the two teams who've lost so far at the start of the season, and that is Bournemouth versus Wolves. Wolves obviously got battered 4-0. Bournemouth 4-2, so they did actually score a couple of goals. Semenyo looks pretty good too, so I can see him scoring a couple. Wolves had a very good start to the first half. They did actually score a goal, which was disallowed. So I am going to go for a close game here, and again, I am going to go for a 2-1 win to Bournemouth. I think they've just got slightly better players than Wolves have. They've not spent that much money in the window, and they've lost some pretty big players too. They also didn't manage to get a goal past City, so no goal scorers there. So we'll have to see how they get on, but we're going to go again for a 2-1 win to the home team. And then next up, it is Brentford versus Aston Villa, which is my team. Fingers crossed for Villa. We want them to win, and hopefully they do go out and win. We've obviously lost Konza, who got the red card in the previous game. Brentford didn't play very well at all, so I can see Villa getting the win. Hopefully Ollie Watkins will start kicking off the season, getting a couple of goals in this game too. So we're going to go for quite a comfortable 3-1 victory for Aston Villa. This could come to bite me in the bum in the game week 3, but we'll have to see how Villa get on, because this probably could decide how I think our season is going to go if we do pretty well in this game. And then next up, it is Burnley taking on Sunderland, two newly promoted teams. Burnley getting obviously battered 3-0 by Spurs, and then on the opposite side, there was Sunderland winning 3-0 against West Ham. I can see Sunderland winning this game again. I don't know if it'll be as easy, but if they get another 3-4-0 win, they'll have a cracking start to the season and hopefully keep that run of form up and maybe stay in the Premier League by the end. I have predicted them to just slip up into the Premier League and stay there, and Wolves to go down instead, so we will have to see. Burnley didn't play very well at all. I did watch a little bit of that game, and I didn't think they were doing much really that was going to cause any danger to Tottenham Hotspurs. So I think we're probably going to go, what should we go, 2 or 3? I think we're going to go 2-0 to Sunderland. I can't see Burnley scoring, and I can see Sunderland getting another win to start off their season. Then next up, it is Arsenal versus Leeds. I did watch a little bit of the Leeds-Everton game, and I did think it was quite harsh to handball. However, he did lean into it, so I can see how it was given. Leeds have a good start though, 1-0, newly promoted team, 3 points in the bag already. Arsenal also getting 3 points in the bag against a much harder Manchester United side. David Raya playing them out of the park, I have to say, really good in net. For that reason, I think Arsenal will get the win in this game. I think Everton did actually give Leeds quite a good game, and they're not one of the best teams in the Premier League, whereas United, I think, will end up quite higher in the table this season. So I'm going to go for a 3-1 victory for Arsenal. I think Arsenal will win. However, I do also think they may concede against Leeds, because United had plenty of chances to score, but couldn't quite slip it in. And I think eventually Leeds will actually manage to score in that game. Crystal Palace versus Forest. I think this one could be a tough game again, and potentially a draw. Crystal Palace, I thought, played pretty well against Chelsea, and Forest obviously got the win in their first game. However, they played an easier team. I think it was Brentford, I believe, and they went over and won 3-1. So I think I am going to go for a draw in this game. I think I'm going to go for 1-1. Palace playing at home, have got the home advantage there. Forest obviously playing away, and their away form I can't remember, but I don't think it is that good. So for that reason, I am going to go for the draw. I think they're both pretty good teams. I think they will end up in pretty much the similar sort of position in the table, but we'll have to go and see next week whether I was right there or not. Next up, it's Everton versus Brighton. This one I think could be a close game again. Everton, though, obviously not having a great start and losing 1-0 at away to Leeds, and then Brighton obviously went and threw away their 1-0 lead right in the last 9 minutes against Fulham. So again, both teams playing pretty fairly even teams. I think all those sort of teams will end up in a similar sort of position in the table. I think Brighton maybe might snatch a win, but I mean, I'm going to go for a draw on this one again. I think I'm going to go for a 0-0. I can see it being quite a boring game. Not many goals scored, so I think 0-0 is probably a fair one. And now it's time for Man U to show us what they've really got. They'll be taking on Fulham, who are going to be playing at home. So they have obviously got that home advantage there at Craven Cottage. They drew their first game to Brighton, scoring in that last few minutes. So don't think they're going to perform too well, especially as Man United were playing so well against Arsenal. I think they might run away with this one. I think there could be maybe 3, potentially 4 goals scored by Manchester United, seeing how well they played in the previous game. However, they may not turn up we'll have to see. If they do turn up, then I think they'll do pretty well, and so therefore I'm going to go for a 3-0 win for Manchester United. I can't see them conceding. They didn't really look like conceding against Arsenal apart from the one goal, and that was a big goalkeeping error, so therefore we're going to go 3 and see if Manchester United can get the 3 points. I feel like they need this one too, because if they lose this second game, then maybe their confidence might drop. And then finally, quite a big game here. It is Newcastle versus Liverpool. So again, going to be quite a tough one to predict. I believe Liverpool will get the win again. They are playing away though at Newcastle up in St Andrews. After seeing Newcastle struggle against Villa, especially with 10 men, I can't see them beating Liverpool, to be honest, but I don't think it will be a too far a result. So I'm going to go for a 2-1 win to Liverpool in this final game. But we'll have to see how we get on next week with all of those predictions. Make sure to let me know of your predictions for the new games down in the comment section below. And finally, we'll move into the FPL section. So let's take a look at the Sheppy Super League. So this is the current league standing. Kian is too cold, sat up there right on the top with 71 points. We're going to have a look at his team today and see where he got all of those points from, all the way down to the bottom, which actually sees me in 6th with the Sheppy squad, and in 7th, Goals on Film, which is Tom's team. So he sat there right at the bottom. He did tell me this was his first season of FPL, so we should let him off. However, this is not my first season of FPL, and I am sat right near the bottom. I actually had a really good start too, so I don't know where it went wrong. But let's take a look at my team then. So we managed to get 2 points in net. Unfortunately, we didn't put Sanchez in. I thought Newcastle were gonna, not Newcastle, I thought Crystal Palace were going to score, so that was why I took Sanchez off. The defence did okay. I mean, Nico Williams there didn't do that great, let's be honest, but Saliba, Van der Van and Dunk got a few points. Dunk would have obviously got more if Brighton had held on to that clean sheet, so they let me down there at the end, unfortunately. Mohamed Salah, captained him, did well. Palmer didn't really do much, while Pedro didn't do much. It looks like my strike force did not turn up, let's be honest. No, none of those three managed to score. I don't think Welbeck played most of the match. I think he came on pretty late. So hopefully, fingers crossed, Watkins and João Pedro can get a couple of goals this week. And then Gakpo there managed to get another 7. So the Liverpool players did pretty well. By the looks of it, we've obviously got the Spurs players, and we'll probably get Sanchez back in goal for this week. But let's have a look and see how well Kian's team did and where he got all the points. So here it is. This is Kian's team, where he got his 71 points. So Pickford in net only got 2. So again, he didn't do a great choice there with the goalkeeper. His second choice didn't do great either, Alisson Becker, with only the 1 point. Lewis there, though, got him 11 for Manchester City, so maybe he was a really good choice there for the defence. Maybe should have gone for him. Saliba again, who I had, he got 9 points, and then Aina and Maguire not getting too many. In the midfield, Mbeumo only getting 2 points. However, I could see him getting a lot more points as the season progresses. He did play very well, I have to say. Johnson got 8 points, Wilson 5, so that's pretty good there for those two players. And then I don't know how to say his name, for Liverpool, but he gained 2 points too. They captained Haaland. That was the big one. That is where they got all the points, which got them 26 points. Well done there, Kian, for captaining Haaland. And then obviously they've got Sesko there on the other side too, who didn't actually get that many points. But it looks like the Man City players were the perfect choice for game week 1. That's where he got most of the points. Also Johnson doing well there for Spurs, and Saliba there for Arsenal too. So well done, Kian. He's the champion for week 1. So let's get some W's in the comments for Kian. Now let's take a quick look at my team for week 2. So we're not going to make any transfers. However, I do believe my team will do a lot better this week. Let's start off in net. So we have put Sanchez back in goal. They'll be playing West Ham. I can see a clean sheet there for Chelsea. So fingers crossed Sanchez can get that for us there. Dunk, Nico Williams and Saliba. I think Saliba and Dunk should hopefully get the clean sheets too, potentially, as they're going to be playing against Leeds and Everton. Nico Williams obviously against Crystal Palace. I'm not too sure how well that one's going to go, but fingers crossed he can maybe get an assist. Xhaka, Mohamed Salah, Palmer and Gakpo all in the centre there. So Salah and Gakpo might not get as many points as they did in the previous game. So I am not going to captain Salah for this one, and instead I'm going to believe in my boy Watkins for the captain. However, I do believe that they'll still get a decent amount of points. Palmer playing for West Ham. Hopefully he can maybe get a goal, maybe a penalty comes out of it at some point and he can score the penalty. And then we've obviously got Xhaka taking on Burnley, and after such a good start from Sunderland, hopefully he can outperform too. Then Then up at the top, we've got João Pedro playing against West Ham, hopefully he can get a goal. We've got Watkins playing against Brentford, can hopefully get a goal, and Welbeck playing against Everton, who could also potentially get a goal. So fingers crossed they can do a lot better than they did in the previous game. Otherwise, we're going to have to start making some substitutes. But come on, Watkins, fingers crossed. Here's my captain choice for the week, and let me know what you think of my team in the comment section below, and also let me know who you're picking too. And I've taken a look through everyone's teams, trying to get some good little pointers, so hopefully throughout the season we can get a little bit better. But this is probably the most I've ever looked at my team. I usually look at it first game week and then I've never looked at it again, so it's quite good that these videos are making me look at the team and hopefully make me make some good decisions. But we'll have to see next week whether I did or not. But I do hope you all enjoyed this one, and if you did, do make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. We've got another part run video coming up very shortly, and then we'll obviously have game week 3 of the predictions coming up next week too. But I will see you all in the next one, and fingers crossed we'll be on a lot more points.